Marcia?
Well, we have a number of updates. Number one, CNN is now reporting that there was a third explosion at the World Trade Center, probably an explosion from the ground that caused World Trade Center 1 to collapse on top of itself.
That area has just been evacuated because police have found what they describe as a suspicious device, and they fear that it might be something that could lead to another explosion. Obviously, there's a real sense of caution here on the part of police. I spoke with some police officials moments ago, Chris, and they told me that they have reason to believe that one of the explosions at the World Trade Center, aside from the ones that may have been caused by the impact of the plane with the building, may have been caused by a van that was parked in the building that may have had some type of explosive device in it. So their fear is that there may have been explosive device planted either in the building or in the adjacent area.
The chief of safety of the fire department of New York City told me that shortly after 9 o'clock, he had roughly 10 alarms, roughly 200 men in the building trying to effect rescues of some of those civilians who were in there, and that basically he received word of the possibility of a secondary device, that is another bomb going off. He tried to get his men out as quickly as he could, but he said that there was another explosion which took place, and then an hour after the first hit here, with the first crash that took place, he said, there was another explosion that took place in one of the towers here. So obviously, according to his theory, he thinks that there were actually devices that were planted in the building. One of the secondary devices he thinks that took place after the initial impact he thinks may have been on the plane that crashed into one of the towers. The second device he speculates was probably planted in the building.
We've heard reports of secondary explosions after the aircraft impacted, whether in fact there wasn't something else at the base of the towers that in fact were the coup de grace to bring them to the ground.
We was in an explosion. We was in the lobby and the third explosion, the whole lobby collapsed on us.
What was it like? What was it like?
Horrible.
It's like hell. You don't want to know.
The whole building just collapsed on us inside the lobby.
Is that a secondary explosion?
Yes, it was.
That was the
planet probably? Yeah, definitely secondary explosion. Because we was inside waiting to go upstairs, and on our way upstairs, the whole fucking plane blew, and we just collapsed on everybody inside the lobby.
Similar to the first tower coming down, secondary.
I don't know about the first one, but I know the second was terrible. Then there was a third one too after that one.
Third explosion after that.
That's right.
People that understand. There may be more. Any one of these fucking buildings could blow up. This ain't done yet.
This is on top of this. It couldn't be no worse than this. Couldn't be nothing no more worse than this. You're in the building trying to help people, and it's exploding on the inside the building. So I don't think it can get any worse than this.
Yeah, here's one of the guys who can tell you I'm okay. All right. Here, hold on. You want to call your mother or something?
Right now. You gotta get back from here.
I know that. You gotta get back. All right. Don't worry about me. You need to make calls right now. All right.
Another one. Hours after the attack, many smaller explosions rumbled through downtown.
Because once the tower fell, you heard boom, 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 boom.
And we heard this boom, boom, boom.
They were planned to take down a building. Boom, 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 boom. All the way down.
So it's like boom, 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 like that. And then it started to sound like firecrackers. Crack, 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 crack. And we looked up, and the second tower was coming down.
There were numerous secondary explosions taking place in that building. There were continuous explosions.
And he was just saying, just run for your life, just run for your life. And then it was like another 2-3 seconds, you heard explosions. Like, boom! It's like a distinct sound. It's not like when in compression, like boom, 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 like floors that were dropping and collapsing. This was boom, and like you felt a rumble in the ground, like almost like you wanted to grab onto something.
All of a sudden, it was like bang, 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 like bullet shots. And then all of a sudden, 3 tremendous explosions. And everything started coming down.
I was about 5 blocks away when I heard explosions, 3 thuds, and turned around to see the building we just got out of. Antenna tip over and fall in on itself.
And then all of a sudden it started like it sounded like gunfire, you know, bang, 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 and then all of a sudden 3 big explosions.
We're hearing a number of large booms coming from that area. We can only guess what is going on.
I got an eyewitness who said there was an explosion on floor 7-8. 7-8. Murray Street because of the secondary explosion. We've got numerous people covered with dust from the secondary explosion. And we got another explosion on the tower, 1013 down 2 has had a major explosion and what appears to be a complete collapse surrounding the entire area. Who's involved in the secondary explosion?
And the lobby looked as though a bomb had exploded there. All the glass was taken out. There were 10-foot by 10-foot marble panels that were once walls.
As the first tower came down, there were a series of explosions. It was like boom, boom. You could hear the echoes of the explosions echoing off the different buildings. So there were these different reports coming from different, by a report I mean like the echo of an explosion. So many of them. Again, to me those all sounded like explosions. You know, maybe those were iron beams bending or collapsing, but to me, unless somebody tells me otherwise, there were multiple explosions as the towers came down.
And he turned around and said he saw a police officer walking with him carrying a 9mm pistol, and he asked him what he was doing, and he said that there were people in the area that were planting bombs after the planes had flown into the tower, that the bombs apparently, and this is just going on what one firefighter told me, police believe that there were bombers that were in the area after the planes hit the towers planting bombs, and that may have been what caused the further devastation. Are you still with me?
Yes, we're listening to you, Joe. It's just unbelievable what you're telling us.
More smoke rising from the ground, new smoke. So there was some kind of additional explosion, but I don't know what it was. Definitely. Smoke was rising from the ground. Maybe it was a federal building or something like that.
Trapped in there for several hours. I was trapped in there when both buildings came down. All this time, I'm hearing all types of explosions. All this time, I'm hearing explosions.
On 9/11 and 8/46, I was at the basement of the North Tower, the first tower to be impacted, the second one to fall. While I was there, a second or two before the plane hit, there was a huge explosion on the sub-level B2 to sub-level B3.
So there was an explosion from below you?
Correct. And that was, a second or two before the
But it was clear and it was distinct that this explosion was before the plane hit the top of the building?
Definitely. As a matter of fact, it was so hard that I thought it was an electrical generator that just blew up on the sub-levels because the support of the building in terms of electrical pumps and generators was located by the mechanical room on that floor. And when I went to verbalize it, we heard the impact of the plane very far away coming from the top.
Then with talking about the day's work and what needed to be done, and we heard a massive explosion that was in the World Trade Center at about 8:46 a.m. in the morning. The explosion came from, I believe, at first we believed that it came from the mechanical room. And then we heard a series of other explosions that sounded up on the above levels of the building, to where we then realized that there was something wrong.
I think a bomb went off in the lobby first, then a plane hit the building. But then another plane hit the other building, and
all of a sudden we hear boom! I thought it was a generator that blew up in the basement. And I said to myself, oh my God, I think it's a generator. And I was going to verbalize it. When I finished saying that in my mind, I hear boom! Right on top, pretty far away. So it was a difference between coming from the basement and coming from the top. And that's, everybody started screaming. And a person comes running into the office saying, explosion, explosion, explosion. He got his hand extended, and all the skin was pulled from his under his arm, all the way to the top of the fingertips, and he was hanging on both arms. Hanging and hanging. And then I looked at his face, and he was missing parts of his face.
The ladies that are with me were in the World Trade Center in the first building and escaped through the lobby, where they believe there was a bomb in the lobby.
And even the turnstile was burnt and was sticking up, and they just told us to run. And as we were coming out, we passed the lobby. There was no lobby. So I believe the bomb hit the lobby first.
And all of a sudden it sounded like, I don't know where the subway is, but it sounded like a subway collision, a bomb, and it was just pounding, boom, 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 and I literally thought the subway had exploded and all the cars pissing around on top of it. It was so loud. And
Did you see what happened? What happened?
Well, I was in the past train, and there was a huge explosion sound. Everyone came out.
At the time, I was actually in the subway heading towards the World Trade Center right around Franklin Street. And after the first explosion, the subway station started to fill with smoke. The subway cars started to fill with smoke, and the subways actually stopped.
Standing next to One World Trade Center, and then all of a sudden I heard rumbling, and we all started running away from it. The glass blew out and threw me onto the sidewalk, and I couldn't see for 20 seconds.
Then we got downstairs.
We got to the fourth floor from
all the way to the
82nd
lobby,
floor.
and all of a sudden it was this big explosion. I don't know if
everything went
just like what you just seen. That's what we went through before we came out of the building.
Big boom. Come down the steps, everything fine till we got to the basement, and then everything just fell in.
And you were working there? Yes, I was right there. I was down in the basement, came down, all of a sudden the elevator blew up, smoke. I dragged the guy out, his skin was hanging off, and I dragged him out, and I helped him out to the ambulance.
And we got to get out of here. We started walking down the stairs, we made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor.
It was just total chaos, and the bottom of our building was blown out.
When we reached the 8th or the 6th floor, the landing that we were standing on gave way. There was an explosion, and the landing gave way. And I was left there hanging. I had to climb back up, and now I had to walk back up to the 8th floor. When I made it to the 6th floor, and there was an explosion. The explosion was beneath me.
Another gentleman and I walked down to the 8th floor where there was an explosion, and we've been trapped on the 8th floor with smoke, thick smoke all around us for about an hour and a half.